Alright, so what we're going to try and do here, figure out a way to pop these jewels out of our housing. I think I'm going to leave the side ones on, but I want these front ones popped out. I don't know how well they're glued in there. Okay, not too bad at all. It just popped right out. Okay, so now we'll do that to both sides. We can drill our hole through here for our magnet wire to go through and out the back, and then down through the top of our boiler. And then we'll fish the wires down inside here from both lights. We'll tie them into the headlight. That ought to work out real nice. Excellent. Okay, back on our project here, putting the LEDs and the class lights here. So now that we got the jewels popped out, and what I'm using here, these are from Evan Designs. These are, you can see it there, very tiny. They started making these up. These are Z size, as in zebra. Very, very tiny. And it's got a rectifier to convert the AC to DC that the LED needs from our track power. And there's also a resistor in there. And you can see the twisted magnet wire going to the LED. I'll put a still picture on here so you can get a better idea. But they're very, very tiny. I'm using a 3/32 drill bit to get into our housing here, or get through it anyway. And the reason I'm doing that, I could have bought these as a separated situation where the rectifier and the resistor are separated from the magnet wire. They supply plugs and you just plug them in. But I wanted to try this because these are so tiny. What I can do is drill through the class light here, drill down through our boiler, and I can just fish this up through. All right, and then everything's still connected. And I'll try to get you a shot here. See if I can show you. All right, I already got this one installed. You can see it there in the class light housing. Okay. And then the wire comes out the back, goes down through the boiler shell. All right. And then I just fished it down inside the shell here. And then I put fun tack on the back of the rectifier and resistor and put that in there, and then tuck the wires behind the boiler front there. And then if I ever do go for a smoke unit, I've got plenty of room to play with before we get back to the smokestack. So we'll try to get our second class light in here. I think I might have to trim this back a little bit, our latch plate here, but I'll decide that as I get everything in, because we still got to get our LED headlight in that housing there. And I've got a 5mm LED for that, a warm white LED, again from Evan Designs. So I love that company, they're great. They don't pay me for this, I'm just saying I like what I'm using from them. But yeah, that's how it looks in there. And then everything is coated with that liquid insulation, so there shouldn't be any troubles with that. Going back into the housing there. And there's liquid insulation inside the housing there. And that's what's holding the LED in place. I put it in and then pull the wire and LED back through till it just seats into the wet liquid insulation. I got some on the top here. It'll peel right off, though. I'm not worried about that. But I'll show you what it looks like lit up on this side anyway. Let me get my stuff hooked up. Okay, there you can see it's lit up there. Let me get that light out of the way. There you go. Beautiful, beautiful. That's just the power supply bleeding off the power. It doesn't blink like that under normal circumstances. That's a DC power supply I'm using at the moment. But, yep, looking good. I like it. All right, so we'll move on to putting in our second one here. First thing to do is drill our hole through the housing. Like I said, I'll be using we're into the wire size drill bits here now. So we'll get that drilled through and I'll be back with you. Sometimes the heat from these drilling will loosen up the little gem there. So we'll get that repaired. All right, so the next thing we'll do is use our little files here. Just have a little set of needle files here. Got a flat one out there. I have this round one here. We'll go in here just to get rid of any burrs. We don't want to damage that magnet wire. It's very fragile. All right. That should be good. Then we'll come in here on the back, get rid of any burr here, which there usually will be. right, that's done. Oh, I feel a little burr right here. That's better. Brass is easy to work with. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, take our hammer and our little center punch here. Lightest of taps. Because the shell here is thin metal. All right, so now we want to get a little punch in there. So we'll take our sharpened punch here. Get her somewhere nearby where we want it. Try to keep it even with the other one. Okay. Let's see how we did there. All right, and then on this round surface, we'll just put it in our punch mark here, like that. And then I'm just turning the drill bit by hand while it's in the truck. I'm not turning it on just yet. You want to dig it, let the drill bit dig itself a little hole here. Okay. Now we should be able to turn it on. And it shouldn't slip. Don't do that. Okay, and then just wind it in. There it is. Okay, and once again, we'll get our little file here. Get rid of any burrs. All right. That looks good. Okay, good job. So let's brush away any of the swarf here, get rid of that. I'll just touch up the paint when I'm done messing with this. We'll get back to our liquid insulation here. And then this stuff also makes, it makes it easier to take apart because it just peels right off, but it still holds everything in place. So if anything goes wrong with these LEDs, the liquid insulation doesn't hold that fast, so it'll let go if you just peel it off, and you should be fine. So we'll get a little bit on our brush here. We're going to go inside our class light here. Like I say, you don't have to be too careful. This stuff will peel right off the exterior. So, and then we'll let this set up a little bit before we fish our wire through there. Okay, do that. Let me wipe off the brush here for the moment. And I just use a piece of copper wire here. Push it through to keep the hole open. There we go. Okay, and then that coats all the way through. Okay, we'll get a little more on our wire here. Get it into our hole in our boiler shell. Coat the inside of that hole. Oh, sorry, my hands are in the way. Okay. All right, very good. So that's done. And then, before we put our insulation away, I take our LED here, straighten it out as much as possible, being very gentle with it. All right. Get some of our liquid insulation here and just coat all the magna wire. And that just stiffens it up. Try not to get it on the LED, of course. That just makes it a little less fragile when you're working with it here, trying to thread it through. Not that it's that difficult, it's just little extra insurance. Okay. Let's see how that's coated there now. Take it as close to the LED as we can. And that way everything's insulated and protected. And I'll give this a second coat before we thread it through. All right, so we'll let that all set up. And we'll come back to this in a little bit. Okay, now Let's attempt to fish our LED up through our boiler. Put a little bend in there, wire there. There it is. Right there. Gently grab the wire. Pull it up just a little bit. Give us something to work with here. All right. I think some of our liquid insulation blocked our hole here. There we go. All right. So that should be cleared out. There it is. Very gently. Okay. So after we do these things, after each step, I always check and make sure it's still working, that I didn't break anything. Yay, there it is. Okay, so we know it's still undamaged. Always a nail biter when you're working with this tiny stuff. All right. So then we take our liquid insulation once again. Get a little bit on our wire here. Not that much. Being careful not to touch the light itself, the LED. Get it behind there into the housing. All right. You wipe this off. then slowly pull the LED back into the housing. Okay, just let it sit right there. We'll get a little bit of insulation on the back of the wire here. See if I can steer that back here. There we go. I'll get some insulation back here. All right, let's get some on this side. Just like that. So we'll let that set up. And after it's set up, we'll give it another test. All right, so here we are. Looks like everything's set up quite well. So what we're going to do here, get our wires fed back down into the boiler shell here. You don't want to tug on these magnet wires. You just want to be very gentle. A little tug from below, a little push from the top. Try to prevent it from pulling against the sides of the hole. You just got to guide it in gently. Straighten that up a little bit. Okay. And there it is. All right, let me get the power hook back up and see. Let's test them, shall we? Before we go any further. Okay, contact. Look at that, huh? He's a thing of beauty. Oh yeah. It's working out quite nicely. All right, so now we know that's in good shape. Back to our liquid insulation. I'm going to need a new bottle of this pretty soon. All right, here's our little piece of copper wire. Wow, everything's lit up here. Just make sure we see all the holes here. Where the wire's going down through the boiler. A little bit there. Okay. Still lit up? No. Why? Oh, I popped the wire off. Never mind. Scared me for a second. There she is. All right. Get some more. Drip it into that hole there. Okay. Looking good. Looking good. Might as well get a little extra dab here. Just to beef it up a little bit. I mean, there's not going to be any children playing with this, so I know where all the sensitive parts are. All right. So we'll let that set up for a little bit. Okay, now we got to get our wires tucked back into our boiler here. Now that we know all our lights are working. So let me separate this. We'll worry about hooking everything up later. All right. Then I just want to create a little pigtail here. Just so the wires aren't shoving all the way back in there. And get it up above our latch here. All right. Just a little bit of spring action there. Then we'll get it behind our latch. And then before we go too far in, get a little dab of Fun Tack here. That's this stuff, if you remember, from Loctite. And we'll just press it onto the back of our rectifier here. If we can. All right. Okay, now all we gotta do is guide this in here, try to get it into position where it'll lay sort of flat in the boiler. We'll twist it around here. And we'll just tuck it in there. Doesn't have to sit anywhere in particular. You got lots of space in there. Okay, there she's sitting in there. Can you see in there? Yeah. Let me see. Okay, so now we got our two rectifiers there. And we'll move on to our headlight here now. Okay, so what I'm using here, this is a 3mm LED, and then Evan Designs also supplies these bushings if you need it to fit into like a panel box or something, and you just want the tip of the LED shown. Okay. And now what I did is I went around the edge of this, around the perimeter here of the bushing after putting the LED into this, and just to make it a, interference fit, so it grabs onto the cylinder here when we push it in to our housing. Okay, so hopefully I got it the right size here. We'll try to coax it in there. There it is. All right. So now that's stuck in there. I don't know, can you see that? All right. Very good. Now, we got to give everything another test here. So let me hook up the power supply to all our lights and see how we did. All right, now what we got to do, I got all the wires tucked back into the boiler there, and got her hooked up to the power supply. Now this is all AC side of the rectifier, so these will go to our center pickup roller, one set of wires here, and then the other set will go to the neutral or the ground side of the AC circuit, so which is the wheels. So we'll get everything hooked up later, but we're gonna give her a test and see how she looks. I'll just try to push the door shut. There, the wires are holding it out, but let's see here. Oh man, can you ask for more than that? Huh? Looking good, looking good. I'm liking that. Excellent. Nice bright headlight. Let me turn this light out anyway. Oh yeah. Looking good, looking good. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and fish the wires through the boiler and find a place to hook them all up. Well, I know one set of wires will go to the center rollers, like I said, center rail, and then the other will go to the wheels, and we should have a beautiful looking locomotive right here. All right, I'll get busy on that. Okay, so now we'll show you, let me swing you around here. Not shaking you around too much. I've got our one set of leads here. I've tied them into the red wires of the pickup rollers, and then there's a black wire, and that feeds center rail power to the reversing unit in the tender. That goes to that disconnect on the back of the locomotive there. And then we've got our other set of 3 leads here from our rectifiers. That's this set right here. If I can keep them in the camera. All right. And then we'll tie that into this wire here. And that's just connected to the chassis on the motor. And then that actually picks up power from the tender wheels and brings it back to the motor to power the motor. But then this also fed the old headlight. So since this is the outer rail, so we can use this to make our circuit to our LEDs. All right. So remember, this is the AC side of all those rectifiers, those 3 rectifiers. So it doesn't matter which set of wires goes to the center rail pickups or to the wheels on the tender, you know, for the outer rails. So the first thing we're gonna do, already twisted this set of wires together. Let me see if I can get these out of the way here. There they are. All right, we'll just kind of bend them around there, see if that'll hold them out of our way. So we'll get the center rails all hooked up here with a nice wire nut. That's all you really need. Okay, we're gonna do, gonna wrap this around. And then we're going to fold this over. And then that gives the wire nut a lot more to grab onto. All right, there it is. So there's our 2 connections. One to the wheels on the outer rails, and then these to the center rail. All right. Okay, I got the shell and the chassis mated back up, minus the front and rear trucks, but the locomotive won't run because the tender's not hooked up. But the we'll see if we get enough contact through the drivers on the locomotive. Oh yeah, look at that. Now that is nice. Okay, I think that's where we're going to leave this for now. I'll get the front and rear trucks on and get her plugged into the tender. Oh, I'm real happy with this project. Came out real nice. Alrighty, very good. Thank you, God.